it is going to be more about us. We wanted to just kind of connect with the community of Corpus and really just talk about what we are, who we are, how we started, where we come from, how we came here. Now, for those of you out there that are live, if you want to join the conversation or just ask us any questions about us, Crash Bell, located on Holly and Staples, shameless plug, you can call in 361-884-1230, 361-884-1230. And I'm not sure, Mike, do we still have the text out? Still out? Texting still out. Don't text. We're not going to get it. For those of you that are streaming on the YouTube, welcome. Unfortunately, it's slightly delayed. We won't get your messages in time. But let's talk about the one thing that we ended with last week. We kind of started little feathers last week with mentioning the ticket price of the ice race and the average income of Corpus, and how those two things not in the same paradigm and alignment. We are not again trying to poke fingers or call people out. We are only looking to cause a shift in the thinking of how we can all get along, how we can all strive, how we can all adjust what we have going on to support the city, but also to make sure that everyone wins. Now, let's talk a little bit about CrashBell. I was at the good old Heb. If you ask my wife and son when we first moved here, they thought HEB was called Heb because they were New Yorkers, and that's what it looks like to people outside of here. They don't understand the dashes in between actually mean something. It just looks like Heb, really big and proper. Now, as I was in Heb yesterday, the good old HEB, everything's better. Sorry. Yeah, here everything's better, which is a really cool name. I was talking to a young lady, and she was maybe in her late 60s. And I was trying to explain to her what CrashBell is, as she was asking me so much about my business in the line of HEB. There's so much time to talk there, right? So as I'm having this conversation, I'm like, yeah, it's called CrashBell, Bell. And she says, Crash well? And I'm like, no, CrashBell, Bell. She says, Crash well? And I'm like, oh my God, no. Um, hmm, is it me? Yeah. Yeah. Is it me? I don't know. I don't think it's me. I don't think it's me. But I do realize that the concept of the name is also very abstract. So it kind of throws people off. Crash bell, what does that mean? And if you really think about it, crash bell, crashing into a bell to make a noise, to make a sound. That's what Crash Bell is. We are a company that is out here making a noise. And we make a noise in a lot of different ways. And I'll break that down. For one, we teach on anatomy and physiology. So the teaching aspect is the idea of us making noise. We're going out to the community and we're teaching more about your stress response system, more about the things that are inside of your body, how your systems work, how you can understand more of yourself. Therefore, you can take care of yourself better. So that's a part of our making noise. We also are really big into sound and frequency. I'm a musician, so I love frequency. So whenever you ring a frequency, it's a sphere that expands, and that goes on forever. So that's cool too, right? Now, the other part of that is when I was back in the days of my youth, um, they used to call me Crash Planet. Well, that was my stage name, Crash Planet. And Crash Planet was a completely different person than Obo. Crash Planet was very hype. He was very hilarious. He was sarcastic and humorous. He immediately commanded attention when he walked into the room or when he was on stage performing. Um, he was my alter ego, and he still exists, although we do not bring him out that much. But when I am on stage and if I'm performing, that part of me does come out because it is the part of me that allows me to actually face being on stage. Because I don't know if you know this, but being on stage in front of a lot of people is really terrifying. And it's the most terrifying thing for most people. They would rather get shocked than be on stage talking to people. Isn't that crazy? So I had to create an alter ego so that I can personify this persona or this person that was not only not afraid of being on stage, but even thrived while they were on stage. So it was my little life hack. Now, Crash Planet met this wonderful young lady by the name of Stephanie, and her last name is Bellocchio, who is now my sweet, sweet life partner. So we took the my name and her last name, and we kind of combined it, and that's kind of where the original name of CrashBell came into place, because CrashBell started in the year 2014, going into 2015, just as a platform for me and her to talk about what it is that we've learned in school, to talk about the anatomy, the stress response system, understanding how you can actually not only engage with your own anatomy through mindfulness techniques, self care practices, and also meditation. But we started to also learn how we've transformed our lives and we've transformed through some of our pain through a lot of these same skills. So our goal was to tell someone. That's why I was to spread the word. We needed to tell someone. We had a burning desire to help everybody understand something that is your birthright, which is knowing how the anatomy of your body works. It's literally your birthright. Mike, let me ask you this. What side of your body is your liver on, huh? And he is absolutely wrong. And that's the thing, right? See, it's basic stuff. And no, nothing to Mike. I'm not expecting him to know the question. I expected him to get it wrong. No one knows. And if I ask where the pancreas is, it's like, what is a pancreas, right? The thing that helps you not to be, uh, well, diabetic, if you will, but it helps you to gain sugar levels, insulin. It balances out how much energy you have. Isn't that some cool stuff? Now, it is our birthright to know where things are in our body, but not only where, but how they work. How do they operate? How do they function? And if I do something terrible to that, what then will happen, right? But what about that idea of stress that we talked about a couple of weeks ago? That has a big part of how the body is going to function. Now, let's get back to Crash Bell, Bell. I'm going to keep saying that for all of you listeners that are saying Crash Well, like the lady in heaven. Perfect time. But so, in the idea of us wanting to get out information, we started with a YouTube channel and we started with in our own community. Which was in Brooklyn, New York. Back in Brooklyn, New York at the time, the community was thriving. A lot of people were in the state of really finding out a better way to take care of their mental health, take care of themselves. A lot of the terms and phrases of wellness and aware and awakened started to really pop off. Social emotional learning, emotional intelligence, self care. What else? Or wellness. Wellness popped off suddenly, right? All these terms. But that movement was driven by a lot of the people in the community of New York actually trying to find some peace because I don't know if you've ever been to New York, but it is literally one of the craziest places on earth. It is the most amazing, yet the most horrible and disgusting all at once. It's amazing. I love it. It is. It's like the best toxic place you can ever be. Um, and that is on both extremes. I'm serious. So from there, we not only started to tell our community, but we realized that as we started to talk to adults, there was a lot of hangups because people had a lot of belief systems about what they already thought they knew. And some of these concepts they didn't want to, attest to because it also makes you really accountable when you start to deal with yourself, right? You have to be accountable for yourself. And most of you are probably going to turn the radio station off after that you said that because, that's almost like eating hot daggers. But we started to write curriculum. And this was a passion that came out of my own journey where we started to write curriculum on anatomy and physiology for elementary schools and junior high. Because we figured, hey, why don't we start teaching the kids at an earlier age? That way, by the time they get into high school, they'll actually have a very like grounded fundamental understanding on anatomy and physiology, just even on the basics of learning how their emotions work and how the stress response system works, which will get them out of trouble if they are actually in a precarious situation where they're excited. So we started doing that. And the first year, 2016, is whenever I finally had all the curriculum put together. We based it off stress, emotional intelligence, understanding awareness on how to tune into certain parts of your body, meditation, And then the idea of somatic movement. Now that's a new type of therapy that's out now, Mike. And somatic movement, soma means muscle. Somatic is movement of the muscle. And when you do this, you actually allow the blood and the muscles to take all the cortisol and the lactic acid and all the stress hormones out of your body. So when you do shaking like that, like the hokey pokey, and you turn yourself around and you start wiggling and you start shaking whenever you have stress, you actually helping your body to release the stress and relieve it from your muscle systems, which then goes back to your organs and it gets recycled and then it gets eradicated. And then you don't have to go on with tension for the next 2 days. Aha, key trick, life hack right there. Take notes. So we decided teaching the kids was going to be a very, very good thing for our future. And we did. And we started off first at a school called the Free School in Brooklyn. And it was awesome. It was literally a free school, and they have a very different style of learning and curriculum. Something that I can't actually say that will work everywhere, but it empowers kids to think and solve problems, which is awesome because unfortunately most schools today is take this test, get the grade right, let's get the data right. So we're not having any critical thinking happening right now in our school systems. But with the free school, it was great because it also allowed me to challenge myself to some of the ways that these kids express themselves because they were very free in the way that they expressed their emotions. And sometimes they would act in a way that was erratic. And I would have to say, hey, you know what? I understand your reaction, but let's just be really real. Everyone's emotions matter right now. So are you saying that your emotions are more important than my emotions right now? Or can we come to an agreement where we actually understand each other and we can move on with class? You see how like that type of schooling and that type of teaching these kids, not only did it hold them accountable for how they felt in the moment, but it also gave them a choice. And sometimes they stormed out of the room, and I'm like, hey, that's the choice. They're gonna have to face that in the next 25 minutes. And so we kind of changed the way that we were even able to teach in schools because we carried that same idea into our public schools. And we did move into more public schools in Brooklyn, New York. And the reason that we grew from there was after 2017, going into 2018. In 2017, I started to realize that the kids were actually getting us in trouble because they would go to their parents and they would say, well, that reaction, mom, doesn't show that you have a lot of emotional intelligence. We're like, oh, ooh, don't say that to your parent, right? Come on, Mike. And the parent was like, excuse me, you don't tell me nothing about no emotions. These are parents that are really strict and aggressive and come from a cultural background that's really strong. And so that was like a slap in the face. And so the parents were storming up to the school. What is this you guys are teaching my kid, right? And so we realized, oh my God, we didn't started a fire. All these parents are looking at us like we're the problem, and they have no idea that it's really them. Huh. Now, before we go to the next part of that story, I'm going to leave you with the cliffhanger. What did the parents do, right? How did they come in? Did they come in storming and, kicking down doors and burning up the place? Maybe. I don't know. We'll see in a second. We're going to hear from our sponsors, and we'll get back to it. The Flow, CrashBell, 95.1. For all of you wonderful folks out there in the camera land and YouTube land, I'm glad that you're part of this live segment. If you do have anything that you want to comment on, we will see a comment. It may come in late. And if so, then we are really excited to have you a part of the show. And again, I don't know if the delay is too crazy. Right now it's 11:45 on my time. I'm going to see how long this takes for it to come into YouTube so that we can have some feedback. But hello there, YouTubers and all you fun people out there. Appreciate you very much. We are in a commercial break, and it's very commercially. Yeah. Good day. What's going on? I got some wonderful folks on. We got Stephanie and Ajna. Hope that you guys are well. Thank you for joining. We hope that you're enjoying some of the info. We're going to get back into the segment as soon as our commercial break is over. and we are going to move more into who is CrashBell? How do we start? Now, again, while we are on break, for you out there, if you guys have any questions, any things that you want to mention, anything that you have want to know about, then we are here. Even if you're curious to know, we are in Corpus Christi, Texas now. And that is at the very, very bottom of Corpus. I mean, of Corpus, of Texas, on the East Coast, right on the Gulf of Mexico. It's a wonderful place. Here, let me show you. Look, I don't know if you guys can see that, but all out there, got the ocean, got the bridge, you got a Lexington, you got a big boat. It's really beautiful over here. It really is. And I'm grateful and blessed to be in such a space. And yeah, so we're going to get this started here in a second. Thank you guys for joining. Let's get it going. The the flow, the the flow, the flow. So so what happened was okay, we're back at it, guys. Thank you for our sponsors and taking that time to break for all of you on YouTube. We're going to get back into the story of what happened with that growth and that, because everybody has a hump in business. You always have these things that you have to get over humps. You have to learn, you have to grow, you have to find your processes, you have to find how your workflow, and you have to refine all at all points of the day. You're always refining. And so with this situation, so we're at a parent teacher meeting, right? And the parents are not necessarily like, how do I put it? They're not agitated. They're just curious. Like, hey, what are you guys teaching our kids? What's going on? And we actually decided that because the principal came to us with he's like, hey, some of the parents are wondering what's going on because their kids are talking about this emotional intelligence stuff and they don't understand. Their kids are kind of like calling them out. I'm like, okay. And this guy was named Mr. Brunner, cool guy, Alex Brunner, principal, male principal, really, really sweet guy too, super soft. And so he schedules us a parent gathering and meeting. So we meet with the parents and we actually, instead of telling them what we're teaching the kids, we actually show them. So we put together a parent curriculum to where we can actually go and talk to the parents. And now this was the actual good thing because it developed a portion of our company that we didn't have yet, which was to build with parents and help them understand how to access this stuff. So we started that. We started talking about the stress. We started talking about why your day is the most important and why you're the most important. Why, whenever you're at work, it's important for you to understand how your stress levels and the way that you come into work will also go with you home and the way you treat your kid whenever you're getting ready for dinner. Like all this was important. And it let the guard down of the parents because they realized what we were teaching their kids was a good thing. And it was also something that they did not necessarily have. And just to tell you about a little bit, a part of the place of Brooklyn we were in, it was called Bed-Stuy, Brooklyn, which is also very African American or West Indian based. So you have a very, very strong, 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 strong mind about how they raise their kid and the culture. But yet, this was a very, very educated and also like adaptive, super smart, super corporate group of people from all over. They have from the high end, from the low end, but they understood progression and they understood that this was some good stuff. So they didn't actually fight us with it. They went along with it. So we started doing yoga for the parents. We started doing group activities, and then that actually sparked my idea to start the corporate sector of our company of CrashBell, where most of my patients as massage therapy, which is separate from CrashBell, it wasn't the same company. I had two different companies. So as a massage therapist, I thankfully had a lot of corporate execs and corporate directors, like high-end people that I was able to pick their brain and break down like what are the levels of stress, what is happening with their staff, what is happening with them, what is the communication between the two, and how is it that the directors are taking on a lot of the brunt from the CEO and the execs, and not being able to communicate that because they're under stress to the actual base level staff. And so what we did is that we started writing curriculum on how to manage your stress, how to manage your mental health, how to manage your processes, but even more so, how to communicate with your staff in order to develop a strong relationship so that you can all succeed and get to the same goal, which is like getting the job done, right? We're here for a reason. And so that was a process that was really fun. And it pushed us into an arena that was really different because now we started having eyes on us that we didn't have before. We had these corporate eyes. We had all these, suddenly public speaking became a thing. Now I'm out speaking in public, talking about this stuff, getting hired for events. In 2018, we got one of my partners, Heal House, which is a really amazing space. Well, they don't have a space anymore. They closed their space down in New York, but they actually helped to catapult me because what I was doing, we partnered with them, and CrashBell suddenly had a name for itself. And from there is whenever everything took off. We started working with the city of New York. I'm a part of a men's group called the Mastermind Connect, which is my brotherhood back in New York. We have chapters all over now. That group helped me to start working with the mayor of New York now. Well, he is now the mayor. Before he was just a Brooklyn Borough president, Eric Adams. And we started to really shape a lot of the culture of wellness and mental health in Brooklyn. And it's so funny to say that on the air live because sometimes I don't realize how much we've done that. And I was speaking to the founder of Heal House the other day as they are like on the Nike billboard, right? She's like, look, we're in Times Square. We've changed the face of wealth and health in New York. I was like, that's crazy. Look at you. You're on the billboard there. She's like, yeah, but you're like, if it wasn't for you, my company wouldn't be my company. And I'm like, that's what's up. That's great. And then it's like one of those moments where you realize, hey, we're doing it. All the things that we set out to do back in 2014, 2015, we're doing it. And not only are we seeing the fruits of our labor by being on these major platforms, but also the work that we're doing to actually see, and the people that come up to us and tell us that we've changed their lives, the people that come up to us and are inspired by the things that we're doing, that they go out and change people's lives. Even the other day, this is how inspiration works. And sometimes whenever you're doing the work, it doesn't matter if you're getting recognized. Get over that. Get over your ego. It's not about recognition. It's about help and getting people the tool that they need. I had one of my patients who's a veteran come into my office because we had an appointment for his chronic pain. And he says to me, hey, the other day I was listening to the radio and I heard your voice. And I was like, oh, that's crazy. What's your radio station? 95.1? He was like, no. I was like, oh, what are you talking about? He was like, well, you were on the news, K6. And I was like, oh, yeah, K6, right? Chris 6, sorry. And I was like, yeah, I was on Chris 6. And so as I was on Chris 6, the clip that I was speaking about on Chris 6 was all about mental health. It was all about supporting men and helping men to understand that mental health is something that we all need to thrive for and to recognize, but that also means that we need to be aware and accountable of our emotions. And so he tells me that a gentleman, and he's on an AM station, I think it was 1430, I think, Gary something, I can't remember, excuse me. If I'm pronouncing it wrong, Gary, my bad. And if it may not even be Gary. But the fact is that he heard my voice on a clip that was on the news that was played back on a radio station that a lot of people listen to. Now, that's what it's about. It's about the work. I didn't need them to call me, hey, Omar, guess what we did? I just heard it through the grapevine. And that makes it even better. Because that means that everything that I've done to get our company to Corpus is all worth it. But now let's get to that part, right? So through the whole process of us growing, we've grown, we've done all these things. If you want to check out more of what we do, you can check us out on social media on all platforms at CrashBell or at CrashBell Official. And you can also go to our website, crashbell.com, and you can see some of the stuff that we've done with our partners. We have stuff out there that is some really good information with healthline.com if you're not aware. We have a couple of different web series with them that you can see and get some tools and information on mental health. On the flip side, we ended up in Corpus because, again, I was born here. If you guys don't remember that, I was born in Corpus. I left whenever I was 14. I am now back. I came here because of the pandemic. If it was not for the pandemic, I honestly don't think that I would be here. But everything happens as it should. And so now that we are here, we're still doing the work. We started working with West Oso. We started working with the Antonio Garcia Center. We started working with some of the people over at Texas A&M CC, and we're looking to work with more and more people. We're looking to help the communities thrive. So if you are out there and you are looking for a community to thrive with, by all means, give us a shout. We're here. We're not only here to support your mental health, we're here to help you to understand knowledge and learn. But also, whenever it gets hard, that's when you need the community. So CrashBell is here to help with community when things get hard. And if we don't have the answer, we're going to put you in the place that someone does have the answer. That's what resources are all about. That's what community is about. That's why it takes a village, everyone. We're here to help the village be stronger. We're going to tear down this crab in the barrel mentality. And we're going to actually influence the youth to make change. So therefore, whenever they get older, they can have this city as a place that they thrive instead of moving away. And with that, that will help every part of our community, from the schools to the colleges, going up to the higher levels, to the way that we treat each other in our neighborhoods, to the way that we speak to each other in our stores. It's going to have a cataclysm of an effect, and it's going to take all of us. With that said, we are at time. We're going to hear from our sponsors. Thank you for listening to The Flow presented by CrashBell. Much love to all of you on YouTube. Bless.